What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the next iteration in this Davinci Resolve tutorial. Today we're going to be actually getting into the deliver tab. So here I am in a project right now, and you can see we are on the deliver page. Now if you don't know where the deliver page is, the deliver page can be accessed by simply going to this little rocket here, which is indicative of, you know, delivering or sending off or shipping or whatever, however you want to look at that. But that's what that icon is for. It is for showing that you are on the deliver page. Now let's go ahead and go through a little tour, because there is a lot of things here to learn. Actually, it's actually more than what meets the eye on the deliver page, so I feel like there is definitely a need to go through it. So if you look here at the top left corner, you can actually see a few buttons. In fact, if you go up above this, you can see some buttons here. So if you hover over it, don't necessarily click on this, but if you hover over, you can actually go into shrink mode. And shrink mode, what it does is it just shrinks everything on this little side here to this kind of view where it's like a half step, where if you click on that again, you can actually get this all the way across the screen, which is what I prefer. I recommend it being in this way, but it's all about your preference at this point. Okay. And then of course we're on the render settings. The render settings is exactly what you're seeing right here, and you can see that it's also mentioned right here. Okay, now what I like to do is I like to start off with my H.264 master, or you can also go to custom, and then of course you can see there are a lot of options here. You have custom export, you have H.264, H.264 hyperdeck, H.265. First off, hold up, let's pause for a minute. What in the world is all of that? So I don't know if you know, but this might be new information for you, but you guys know I like to get into the why. The whole purpose of editing is simply to take several video clips and you create a new video clip or clips, right? So that's pretty much what rendering is, or that's what delivering is in Davinci Resolve. When someone says they're rendering a video, they're just making a new video from existing video. So with all that being said, there are a lot of things that can dictate whether or not somebody's going to actually be able to view your video file. And the way they're able to view that file is the video file is retaining data in a certain format. You know, for example, if you have a document, you know, you probably are familiar with like a Word document, like a doc or a docs file, or a PDF file for like a book, or maybe an MP3 file for a song. Well, all those different files correspond to different file formats and different media types. However, in video, unbeknownst to you, or maybe you did know it, but there are about a bajillion million video file formats out there, and all of them have a purpose. All right, I am off my soapbox. You guys understand why we're learning this, and now we're going to get into all these file formats. So if we go back into the software, let's go ahead and break this down. So we've got wow, what a mouthful. H.264. H.264 is the most common, widely known, visible, viewable, easiest, lightweight file in the existence of file formats for video. Okay, it is like the standard. That is what pretty much will work on a computer, back like on an old computer, to work on a new computer, to work on a current computer. Okay, just know, and it's also future proof too, because H.264 can hold high quality frame rates, formats, color grades, bit rates, depth rates, encodings, so on and so forth. So we'll get to all that in a minute. Okay, I told you, there's more than what meets the eye than on this deliver page. So a format and a codec are two different things. The file format is the type of file, but the codec is how the video is processed. I know this is all Chinese, but it's going to make sense here once we get into the deliver page a little deeper. So H.264 is your regular video file. Okay, and so you got your file name right here. You can tell where you want to put it. You know, I got mine going into my downloads folder. You can render a single clip, or you can make a bunch of individual clips. So let's say you had a bunch of clips in here and you wanted to render all of them in one pop, you know, individually, like you did edits on each one, and you want to render each individual all over again with a new color grade. That's where an individual rendering mode could be useful for. Okay, you can go render just a video. Okay, so, and you can also render no video, but render just the audio. So you got your audio over here, you can click on that, and you can enable that, or just have video only. and no audio. Okay, so, or you can do video and audio by clicking this. And then we'll get into audio codecs later. That's another beast as well. There are actual audio codecs that retain more audio dynamics and quality than others. So we'll get into that a little bit later down the road. But for now, we're going to keep everything nice and simple and kind of break down the main ones. Okay, but for right now, I'm just kind of giving you a tour. So we got file right here as well. And file is basically how you're going to name the file. You know, is it going to be named after the timeline? Is it going to be a custom name that you can type in right here and call it, you know, my video or whatever? So that is what file is for. Okay, I'm going to move on down to, again, you can change your file format. Okay, you can actually change it to a picture. You can actually make it a JPEG picture. Isn't that cool? You can change it to an MP4, the most common regular video file. Then you got just different codecs. Again, these all correspond to how it is going to be read and processed by a video player. And right now, I'm going to tell you right now, AV1 is not one that is very widely known, but H.264 is. H.265 is a very modern and new codec. It is very efficient. It makes files a lot smaller, but keeps the quality. But then again, keep in mind, if they don't have a newer phone or a newer device or a newer laptop, they could run into issues with watching your video file. So in that case, you want to go back to H.264. Okay. All right. Going back into the software here. So then network optimization, we can do that a little bit later. And then your type, of course, of, you know, your encoder or whatever will change depending on what you're rendering. Okay. Depending on what codec you got, excuse me. Now we can get into resolutions. Wow, resolutions, my goodness, there is so much to all of this, but in short, this is how you can change your resolution. You can make it 4K. Okay, maybe you want to make it 8K, maybe you want to make it 12, whatever. This is how you change your resolution. Okay, this is how you can upscale your video to other resolutions, make it higher quality. But then there's a caveat to that, which we'll get into a little bit later. Frame rates, again, you can change your frame rate. All right, now for this one right here, we're only given a few options, but if you create a timeline from scratch, so let's go over here to the edit page. I'm actually in a wet and video file right now. Let's go ahead and create a new timeline. Create. Don't use project settings. Format right here. Okay. You can actually change your frame rate to whatever you want in here. So you can make it 120 frames per second timeline. And then when you go to render it, go over here to render. Guess what? Your frame rate right here, 128 frames per second. Then we got quality. Quality is interesting. This is how you can change it from best to high, medium, low, least, so on and so forth. Or you can restrict it to a certain file size. Let's say, for example, you're trying to send a video to somebody over like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or over a cell phone text message. Those messages are going to compress your video and make them look like pixels when they get to your recipient because the file is too big. It's too much data. So the network says, hey, your file's too big. We're going to go ahead and make this as doo-doo looking as possible and remove as much pixels and data and resolution as possible to get this across to your recipient. Well, what if I told you there's a workaround? You can actually compress it on your own, make it be a certain size, 1,000 megabytes or something like that. This is not megabytes, by the way, it's kilobytes per second. It's what it refers to. That has to do with its bit rate and how it is processed. But the lesser that number is, the lower quality your image and video will be, but also the smaller the file will be. Okay, so this is how you can start compressing your video down and make different versions for your clients. Maybe they don't want some giant file or whatever. Okay, so just keep that in mind that this number right here, you can make this be super small, you can make it be really, really large, or you can just throw it on best and it will maximize the quality to be as best as it can be. Okay, now we're going to collapse that. We're going to go down to subtitles. Subtitles are actually really useful. So you can actually export subtitles. If you put them on there, you got to have them already on your video. You have to edit it on there. And if you do, it'll take all the subtitles that you have and it'll give you a separate file so you can upload that into wherever you're uploading your video, like on Vimeo or on YouTube. Okay. And then lastly, but not least, speaking of YouTube, we have YouTube settings. So when you render a video, this setting right here is the sauce. Now this is something that's going to make your life easier if you make YouTube videos like myself. This is going to allow you to render your video and it'll create a file on your computer, but it will also upload that video file to your YouTube account at the same time. Now that's really cool because like for me, sometimes obviously it's at night, it's really dark, so I'll make my videos at night. I'll make my video, for example, and I'll hit render and I'll go to bed, and then you guys can know that you'll see a video in the morning on YouTube. So this is really, really cool, and you can schedule it and set the privacy and all that stuff. So that is the left side, and my goodness, there was a lot in there. Again, we are going to expand on all of that, but I just want to give you a quick overview of all of this stuff. Okay, whatever. So you have these different built-in presets. These are really, really useful if you're going to actually utilize some of that stuff, but if you don't use any of this stuff, don't mess with it and just do a custom and do it whatever you know is best for your needs are. Okay, you can actually access timelines right here. So I can say, hey, let's render this this teaser video for this wedding that I did, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go over here to the bottom left corner, and we're going to actually add this to the render queue. Okay, so I added it to the render queue, and now you'll see it is over here, and you can see the codec is H.264, and you can see that it doesn't really have much of a title. So let me go ahead and give it one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click over here and call this teaser, and then yeah, sure, go to the downloads folder, MP4, nope, H.264, we want this to be viewable to anybody. Sure, the best quality possible, okay, and do not upload to my YouTube channel, no, but if I did, you can click on that checkbox and you could. And then we're going to hit add to render queue. Okay, now it says, hey, there's a file already on your computer that exists. Do you want to replace it? The answer is yes, I do, because I want to get the latest and greatest. You'll see it added another job. Okay, so you see there's this first one I have and this one. So you can actually click on this, and there's like a little X, and you can actually delete it by clicking that little X right here. Okay, and now you can see we got our new one right here. Let's say you have a render and you want to take a look at it and you're not sure what the settings are. You can actually hit this pencil, and you can actually edit the settings of that render right here on the left hand panel. Okay, so let's say we have multiple jobs here on the right and we wanted to render all of these at once. You could, and that's how I do a lot of my social media videos, where I'll make a lot of videos and then I'll render them all in one pop, okay, in one succession to maximize time, and they just kind of go one at a time. Okay, next up, what we're going to learn is exporting audio only. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put a check mark here, and we'll pick up where we left off on the next video. Okay, all right guys, we'll see you guys, and you guys take care. See ya.